morning. The theme of my sermon is the illusion of a people. As I walked in my home in the middle of the night and lay on my couch to check the email, I saw in the corner of my eye, the verdict is in. The verdict is in. I opened the page to see Zimmerman is found not guilty. My soul suddenly reached out to the family of Trayvon Martin. To know that your child has been murdered is simply the reality of hell. Recently, I read an article that stated, I think eventually, no matter how deep the moral feelings and personal feelings might be among African Americans or others, with time passing, they start seeing what can we do about the present and the future and put aside their feelings about the past. This is a snippet of a remark by former President Jimmy Carter. As he spoke about the Trayvon Martin case, I have heard the multiple remarks from people about this case, and I honestly must say it has forced me into seeing the true soul of this country. This idea that we must forget racism, as if it is not stronger than it was during slavery, deconstructs any pursuit of democracy. We have made an illusion that racism is not relevant. Because of integration and assimilation, we have made an illusion that this nation is so great when it was actually founded on evil and became an empire through enslavement. This American nation, whose hands are stained with blood, has colonized the minds into believing that we are ordained by God, reminding me of another empire that Jesus was against, Rome. I am not going to dig deep into the historical context of racism, because I believe that all of us know about the enslavement of blacks and the near extermination of Native Americans, the cuts at women's bellies that rip infants from their womb early and stomp their skulls with boot bottoms. I'm sure everyone knows about nooses tied around necks as the victim prays that the rope will simply snap their neck instead of slow suffocation. This is the type of hatred that America has continually thrown at minorities. This is the reality of my ancestors and continues today predominantly in the poor community. Now we have an entire country that ignores the voices of their original people and the voices of those that stand outside of the white male status quo. We have school systems that lie to minorities about history that causes us to be lost in a Eurocentric system. We give Ritalin to children who are simply bored because the education does not speak to their daily struggle. And we murder children for being black in the wrong neighborhood. I hear everyone with their claims that this Trayvon Martin case had nothing to do with racism, that black people need to let this race thing go. The conflict of this belief is as we begin to forget racism, the foundation of our nation continues to build its dominance. Our children still learn that the history of this land begins at European invasion, excluding the deep beauty of native civilization. We teach young black children that their history begins at slavery. We teach the masses to be afraid of the government and to never break unjust laws. All of these beliefs are founded in racism itself. So how can we say to forget racism? How do we move past something without fixing the problem at hand? It makes my stomach turn as people quote MLK as if the civil rights movement killed Jim Crow, as if Jim Crow died during the 60s. For those who believe that racism died during the 60s, I often want to ask them a few questions. Why is it that we have entire curriculums on the Holocaust but none on the genocide in Rwanda, Darfur, and throughout Africa and Latin America? How is it that Fidel Castro is seen to be a lunatic and Ronald Reagan is raised as a hero? Have you ever had an entire history stripped of its relevance and told that you must learn the Western way? This is the truth behind the conflict of letting go of racism, simply meaning just forget about it. Vanessa, my wife, is always getting on me about paying attention to the sounds of our vehicle, because my reaction for this is usually, baby, it'll be all right. One time after Vanessa told me over and over and over again, Dale, there's something wrong with the car, I said, baby, it's okay, basically saying whatever. The car broke down on me. Now, I think this may be my stubborn sign showing, but it's like a journey of doom walking over to my wife to say that you were right. My wife just has these eyes that sometimes say, my husband is such an idiot, but I love him anyway. My illusion with cars is very similar to our illusion with racism. If we just ignore it, maybe it will go away. Maybe if we can get the minorities to be like the status quo, white America, then they will forget about this racist stuff. This illusion that white America has that racism is not real, is irrelevant, is detrimental to the uplifting of our soulless and barbaric country. We have never truly pursued the extermination of racism, never in history. During slavery, my ancestors dreamed and pursued freedom through escaping. When we were free, the nation still had plans to kill us or send us to Africa. We call this eugenics. Next, we marched on the streets to go to school with whites. We boycotted buses and food chains so we can travel and eat with whites. We put our life on the line and pleaded to be accepted. And today, the consequences of integration show themselves, and I often question if integration means equality. And the answer has always been to me, no. Why, you ask? If it was not for my tenacious pursuit of reading, activism, and meditating, I would have no connection to my ancestors. The greatness of African culture has been disrupted by colonizers, missionaries, and yes, the church. The African mind has been torn from history. We never speak of the origins of Christianity in the land of Egypt. The plagiarism of Aristotle in the creation of Greek philosophy, when the word philosophy is of African origin anyway. How dare we steal, copyright, and destroy an entire people? How dare we, the ones not in imminent danger, tell those staring in the eyes of death to be peaceful? To accept this idea that Trayvon was not profiled or that Trayvon could have walked away is to denounce the protection of one's body. To accept this corrupted stand your ground law is to say, as me and my wife walk through the park, that we don't have the right to confront anything that may harm us. And they may have to worry about my wife more than me. If you are trying to tell me that Trayvon did not have the right to confront a stalker, then I would like to ask you a few questions. I would like to ask you to go visit the south side of Chicago, where recently in one weekend, 50 were shot and 13 were murdered. In one weekend. One thing that I've heard very few people speak about is during this trial, many have said if Zimmerman was scared, he should have shot Trayvon. But when it comes to Trayvon, it is said that Trayvon should have run. There is hypocrisy here and nobody wants to acknowledge it. Yes, I believe deeply in nonviolence as a strategy. But would you tell an abused wife to be nonviolent? A prostitute seeing a glimpse of death in her pimp's eyes as he beats her? Should she not fight back? A continent who America is colonizing and creating military control like what is happening in Honduras right now. Should they only protest as bullets hit their children? So as I say, as calmly as I know how dare we say to Trayvon not to confront a stalker? Shame on those who strip individuals of their instinct to protect those they love and themselves. There may be some disagreement in my claims, and that's fine. But until you taste blood in your mouth from abuse or see the fear in the eyes of a child, mother, or anyone as they scream for help, then I don't think we can control the reaction of the oppressed. Now, let's not misinterpret my words. Love will always be my driving force. But I will